ultra happy people. I am your host, ultra runner and coach Tania, and your magnificent co-host, Andy.
Woohoo!
Hold on a second.
I thought you were going to say an ultra runner.
I was gonna say.
But I've not done it yet, so you can't say that.
Oh my God, I
No, you
can't
can't say
wait
it.
until we change that for ultra runner.
Ultra runner and ultra runner.
Ultra math and ultra math.
Yeah.
Ultra math. Great. Talking about that, how's your training been going?
Right in there.
How's everything going? I'll ask everyone first.
Normally we have a bit of sort of chat.
I think I've received so many not questions, but like so many cheers more than anything after you said that you will sign up for your first ultra and everything. And I received such a good feedback from everyone's like so excited. I think everyone forgot about what I'm doing. Like no one cares anymore. Everyone's rooting for Andy. Like Tania and 5 Deserts. F that. No one cares about that. No one cares about Cocodona 250 that I may die there. But
I don't know
everyone is very excited for your running. So that's why I would
half
think.
marathon before that.
And your half marathon. But you know what? You're gonna finish. Like that was not that it's easy, but I know you will finish it. So it is challenging, but not.
It's just the more that I get out there, even on trails and stuff like that, the more I understand they're going to be completely different. Because obviously the half marathons are non-stop running. I guess it's called a race, but it's not a race for me. It's just to complete it. Do you know what I mean?
It's a challenge.
And then the ultra marathon, the 250 kilometers is a different thing altogether. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like totally
and I think that is the real challenge, because again, it doesn't only involve running or fitness. It also involves so much more, like self-administration, mental strength, just be able to solve on the go. And
what I realised pretty quickly is in the space of a 1 week to the other.
Yeah.
For people that were listening to the last podcast, you'll have heard that I'd done my 18-kilometre trail run. And we went out, and that trail run was brilliant. I'm so glad that my first outdoor 18-kilometre trail run was a good one. Mm-hmm. So my legs were good, my stamina was good, I felt like my technique was pretty good. Everything was going really, really well. And I felt, when I finished that run, so inspired. I was like, this is brilliant, I can do it.
And that's exactly what my goal was. Like, remember, I've told you, like, my only goal was for you to have a good experience out there.
Yeah.
Because I think when I started running, I think that was maybe not the bad experience, but something that I would have liked to change how I was introduced to running. Like, I went to this group and they were all like super fast, and everyone, instead of like slowing down with me, they were like trying to push me
a bit further.
And instead of like having that memory as like, I really enjoyed it, like you do now, I had like these like trauma of like, oh my God, I don't like, maybe that's why I don't like running in groups, because I go back to that feeling of being pushed and being pressured that I do not like.
Well, my point was going to be is that it was two very different runs, because the second time that I'd done it, when we done it last Saturday, was that I done exactly the same run, and then what happened was my ankle, which I've got problems with, became sore. And when I started compensating, then the side of my knee became sore. So actually, and that was at kilometre 13, I think. So I still had 5 to go, and I pretty much had to walk 3 of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And go over. So it was tricky. But what actually happened was as well is that even though it was for me complete opposites, and the first one was good and the second one was bad, on that second one, I pushed myself to get through, even walking and getting through the pain and all that. So actually for me, coming out of that run, I felt quite positive, because I was able to get through the pain and keep going and keep walking. And whereas before, and I said this to you before, on a normal run, when I had my sore ankle, I would just have turned around and came back.
Yeah, in the mountains you can do that.
Yeah, you can't really do that.
You wait for the helicopter to pick you up.
But in my head, I just thought to myself, you just need to keep going. So it's just, things change a wee bit.
That's great, but I think also don't get used to running in pain. That shouldn't
Yeah, I
that
know.
shouldn't be the
I know.
experience. That shouldn't be it. It's great as a now that you're going to be running more and experiencing more time out there. Obviously, you're going to start experiencing other problems like pains here and there that you probably didn't notice before. And the fun practice or the fun thing to discover is how to not to how to deal with the pain, but how to
Manage it.
how to make it better in the sense of oh, I need to strengthen this part or this part. And that's why I do not post again any of the strength trainings or anything in my social media, because everyone is so different. And I feel also like now we were talking this in the previous podcast with Sarah, with my trainer, my coach, is that it's so easy to download a program that you don't know if it's going to be suitable for you.
Yeah.
And you have to for example, if you have downloaded a program or even use AI, then now a lot of runners are doing it. The AI doesn't know that you have that problem in your ankle, and they don't know how fit you are or how, so it's very, or how heavy you are. That's also very important in not only in the volume of the program, but in your goals and even in your equipment, for example, trainers and shoes and all that. So it's very important. So I would always go with obviously strengthening is king. And I think that's maybe something that you just started doing, right? Like, fair enough. But it's going to take obviously a little bit of time to pick up.
Also, I think, and actually Andy's facts today is because obviously when it happened to me, you know what I'm like, I then come back and start reading about it and try to understand things a wee bit more. And in Andy's facts today, it's about how you can not necessarily overcome these things, but how you can make it easier and make it a bit better.
Yeah.
But also, I think that there's definitely a change, and I would imagine that everybody else out there would be the same, is see when they've got a challenge coming up. For example, I've got the half marathon and then I have got the ultra coming up. My mindset's changing, the fact that I'm like, right, I'm out there running, I'm going out to run. You know what I mean? And even now, like, we've been out for a couple of runs this week, just even the both of us out running, doing 8-9K or whatever it is. And I'm like, right, come on, let's go. Can we keep moving? Do you know what I mean? So my mentality's changed again.
I think when you start being scared of the challenge, because I think that's like now you're not scared, but you're like, oh, I need to train because I do not want to die in that 250 kilometer.
Yeah.
That's my motivation as well, to be honest. So if I put a goal that is not too challenging, it's almost like, oh, it's too easy to quit, because it's like, oh, let's say you have your half marathon, and if that's the only thing you had, you will be like, oh, I'll skip it because I know I will finish it. I will be fine. Like, it's easy to bail on it, rather than if you know you have a 250, you're a little bit like frightened or scared.
Yeah, I think what you do is you ask yourself the bigger questions. So you ask yourself, for example, do you know what? See, at the current stage of fitness I'm at, would I be able to complete the half marathon? Yeah. At the current stage of fitness I'm at, would I be able to complete the ultra marathon? Well, I don't know.
Exactly.
So what I need to do is I need to be prepared for every eventuality on it.
Yes.
And even the fact is, and you'll laugh at this, is I said to you 2 days ago, we were running on a sort of long track towards a place called Kite Beach, and I could see myself in the tram station window running.
Like your reflection,
And I said, and afterwards I said to Tania, my style looks weird.
Yeah.
There's something about it that I just and when I started thinking about it, I started feeling uncomfortable about it, and I started thinking about how I'm running. Do you know what I mean? Like, even I'm going to say a word I've never said before, Candice, is had a wee read at that and what the difference is. And even from the run the other day to today, the Candice is different because I'm thinking about it.
I love you're bringing up all these things, because it's going to be so helpful for everyone that is starting this year with this goal of like, I'm going to start running, or I'm going to pick up, or I'm going to take it back, or absolutely a newbie. Like, you are coming in like, this is like, we didn't even plan it, but I think this is like the perfect timing, because you're going to start coming up with these little things that maybe I forgot over time. And I love that you bring them up, because I forgot I had the same issue, the same thought when I was 9 years ago when I was starting. And you mentioned that, and I kind of like today that we went out, I kind of was looking at why are you saying that? So I was like staring at it, and I think I found like why. And I told you, I think you hobble instead of running, which is like maybe you're not lifting your legs enough. And instead of maybe focusing in that at the moment, like practicing your running stride and knee up and that, what I was explaining you is that I had the same problem, and it's too easy to do strides or try to pick up your leg. But if you do not have the strengthening in place to support those changes, it's not going to happen. You're going to do 5 strides like that, and then you're going to get tired, and it's not going to be sustainable because you don't have the strength to sustain it. So as I was saying, I think again, strength is king. So the more you're strengthening, which again you're starting to do, the more your body and your muscles will be able to carry that form, that better form, longer and sustainable, and even your running will be more economically. So yeah, but everyone out there, you look funky running the first times, don't worry about the form. That is a problem. Like, it's not a problem. It's just how it is. Just know that it's going to change over time. My stride, my form has changed multiple times, and it's also going to change even in the distance. It's not the same when I run a 5K that when I run 100 miles. You know,
it's different.
Your strides start changing. Your everything starts changing. So it's something that maybe is just in the back, and you're not going to get injured as long as you have a good strengthening. If your body is strong, your mechanics will work fine. And also know that the strides or running looks different on everybody.
Yeah.
So everyone has a different machine, a different mechanics. So that's why also I have a little bit of difficult thoughts when running coaches or running things I see outside saying this is the perfect way of running or this is the perfect technique. There is not such a thing because
everybody's leg length is different, everybody's feet are different, the pronate,
you have a weird ankle, so obviously you're going to have a different. There's going to be someone that had an athlete that had a hip replacement. She's going to maybe run a little bit, funky or have her own way because that's how it suits her because of her ability or the problem she has. So everyone's going to have a different, maybe you have a different stride because maybe one side you have it stronger than the other one, which again, if you strengthen over time, you're going to start having your two sides strong, like the unevenness will disappear. But at the beginning, yes, know that it's going to be a little bit of hobble, a little bit awkward, but don't worry.
There's just so many factors to it, right? Now, I've been running, I'll be coming up for a year running, and I think that actually, even though I still wouldn't call myself a runner or a trail runner.
I don't call myself a runner, and I've been doing this for 10 years.
What it definitely has become, and I think any established runner out there will be able to tell newbies like me, is it is definitely a journey, a discovery.
Yeah.
Because what happens is every step you take is moving you forward, but not only that, you change and adapt and get what you want out of it. Like I know you were saying there, like for example, everybody's got their own style, absolutely, but also people run for different reasons.
Yeah.
If you're running for speed, then it's dead important to you that what you do is you've got the perfect stride and you've got the perfect movement and you work hard on that. But if you're doing it for endurance and you're doing it not necessarily to compete, as we'd said before, but to perform for yourself, to get through it yourself and to challenge yourself, that's a different thing.
Why worry about that?
And what you're trying to do is you're trying to do everything to stop yourself from getting injured.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when
that's the goal number one, obviously, because if you get injured, well, game is over.
Out.
So, with that, let's just start with Andy's facts.
Andy's facts. Well, actually, so in the back of realising that trail running is completely different.
Yeah.
From my normal run, for my normal running, and I'm feeling things that I've never felt before. I thought we'd look at the most common injuries in new long distance trail runners.
I like that.
Newbies like
I'm just going to put it out there that I don't know. I have lots of athletes that I train that they come up with injuries, and I may know a little bit. But I will always go with a professional to assess them because also I've never been injured, like a proper running injury. I mean, I twisted an ankle, which it was twisted an ankle, and then I fell once, remember, running, and my knee hurt really bad. And sometimes even steals, yeah, my pride. And my knee was, even until now, it feels a little bit sometimes when I put weight on it, like if I'm kneeling down, my knee, that one, like that never went back to normal. But like that was just a fall.
Yeah.
Like a proper running injury, no. And also it has to do a lot with genetics and your bone structure and your disposition to get injured or not. So yeah, let's get into it.
Well, do you know what? I actually thought it was a good starting point for me and probably for anybody else in the Ultra Happy team out there that's getting into or starting to get into running, because when I felt the problem in my knee, I thought I need to have a look and see what this pain is all about and why. So I started looking at what the most common ones I said, and would you believe that the most common one that people get are stress fractures?
Yeah.
So stress fractures.
Doing too much.
Yeah, stress fractures. Sorry,
yeah.
Stress factors are small cracks in the bones caused by repetitive impact and overuse.
Exactly, doing too much.
Often in the lower limbs. New ultramarathon runners are particularly vulnerable due to the rapid increase in mileage. Mm-hmm. A study in sports medicine emphasised that the improper progression in training and inadequate recovery are key risk factors. Yes. Proper footwear and gradual mileage increases are critical to prevention. Think the urge is to get out there and do as much as possible, but that's not actually the way to do it. I remember we read these things before. I'm a very low
mileage athlete, yeah.
Yeah, but I remember reading these things before, and I always thought to myself, surely if you're going to do an ultramarathon, you need to be getting the miles in your legs. You need to be out there doing it. But it's completely the opposite.
Listen, there is athletes that I coach and they're like, yes, I love running and I want to be out there running every day. So we just have to watch out about the time and the intensity and don't build it up too fast. But there's people that like that and there's people that don't like. Again, same thing. That's why it's so important a personalized coaching or someone to kind of help you to gradually, put those volumes on you, and then also twitch it to your likings. Again, there's people that like running a lot. I am a very low mileage athlete. I even said to all my coach, I have to get there without running as minimum as possible. And there's multiple ways to get to the goal or to your finish line. Not all it's the same mountaintop, but there's different routes to get there. So you just have to take the one that you enjoy the most.
Next one is iliotibial band syndrome, which I'm going to call it ITBS.
Yeah, the IT band.
Which I discovered is what my problem is.
I know, I was going to say the knee. Yeah.
But it's specifically to the side of the knee. So ITBS is one of the most common overuse injuries among runners, causing pain on the outer side of the knee or hip. It occurs when iliotibial band, a thick connective tissue, becomes irritated from repetitive friction during long distance running. Research in the Journal of Orthopedic and Sports Physical Therapy highlighted that the biomechanical imbalances such as a weak hip abductors contribute significantly to ITBS in new runners. And how often do you talk about the
ITB band and a lot? And what was the reason?
It's the overrunning. It's the overrunning and the weakness.
No, weakness.
No, but it says it's the overtraining and weakness.
Weakness. If you are strong, you will be able to hold the volume. If you are not strong, that's what you get.
But the thing, but also I think that from a new runner point of view, I think a lot of runners will probably come up against that. Yeah. So it's more important that what you do is you need to make sure that you're strength training, like you're saying. So if you're a super new runner, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't do it with you, or you are doing your own training. I'm not coaching him, by the way. Just put it out there. I think that will cause divorce. But if I had new athlete, like at someone that is coming from zero, the first month, it's a very strength base. Because if you're not strong, again, once I put you to running, everything is going to start breaking apart. So yeah, and also start to use those tiny muscles that you may never work out in a normal setting. For example, hip flexors, very important. I even have some twitches sometimes in my hip flexors. And you do a lot of work on that. And a lot of work, because I realize that would be that if something is going to give me a hard time,
it would be that, because I always feel it like that. So yeah, know yourself also as well in that journey, to know sort of what is.
I think one of the things I've learned about your training, watching you over the years, is that especially in the past year, you've definitely played more focus on the mobility side of things.
Yeah.
So I see you doing some crazy movements in the gym sometimes, and I'm like, what's going on there? But it's because what you're trying to do is you're trying to get to those particular joints that's going to help you running. And it's the long distance thing, because I noticed, for example, that I started feeling that pain at kilometre 13.
And I think you started feeling it, talking about that, and the funky exercises I do at the gym. It's more to do with trail running, because trail running is not in stable, like it's not flat, right? So it's an unstable ground, you roll, with the rocks, there is, ups and down, and you have to jump and you have to move in an erratic movement. So that's why probably as well you are starting to experience pains that maybe you didn't have before, and maybe not because of the volume, is because of the movement. Now you're doing different movement than when you were running in the street, for example.
Yeah.
And that is very important to do. And one thing that obviously my coach and I work on is doing those works, and also proprioception movements that will help me with my balance, and I've always said that, and to recruit my neurons, to connect my neurons with my muscles, to kind of react fast. So be responsive if you have to jump, if you have, just be able to connect those dots pretty fast. Even that is something that you have to practice, because if you just do it once a week, maybe that is not enough for your brain to connect more neurons, more motor neurons from the brain to, and this one also you could get injured. And that's one of the things I will say about, actually, and now that we're going to go into the Antarctica chat a little bit later, is that I think, and I felt all that proprioception work and everything during the run, because I could see a lot of people getting injuries in the run in Antarctica, because it was very slippy. Obviously, it's very unstable, much more than in trails, because trails, it's a little bit like, if you have a good shoe, grippy, and it's fine. But in there, it's just slidey. It was just very slidey, and your legs were going everywhere. And I could see, if you didn't have enough strength, one motor, like the neural connection to, let's say, if you're gonna slip, if you didn't have that connection really fast with your brain, like, oh, bring your leg back, your leg would go. And we've seen a lot of like twisted knees, and between that neural connection and the strength, right? Because your brain can say, oh, retrieve the leg because we're slipping, but if you don't have the strength to bring it back to your body fast, that's not going to work either. So your brain is going to send the signal, and your body has to have the strength to retrieve it really fast. So it's a combination of both when you're out there.
See, when you're talking about it, it reminds me, in modern day cars, that what they've got is they've got that four-wheel intuition, that if it slides, then what it does is it rebalances the speed of the wheel, so that what it does, it gets
our
back
body
on
does
track
the same.
again.
Your brain is thinking all the time, and you may not think it, or maybe you feel it now that you're running in trails. You're starting, like, maybe you don't do it now. Well, now I don't do it. Probably I'm not thinking, but probably you may think it now a little bit more, because you're a little bit more concentrating in where my foot is.
I'm less looking at the scenery now.
Yeah, exactly. You are just, and then if you're going faster, all that goes faster. So your brain has to, and actually one of the things funny that I realized that also plays a big part was when I did my 100-miler. I remember I was not tired, like I didn't want to sleep, but I said I need to close my eyes because my brain was knackered. And not because only it was self-navigated and I needed to figure out where to go. It was just thinking, like, where am I putting my foot?
Always watching,
and responding to the terrain, responding to everything. So it's just the brain gets
it's
really
like all those
tired.
senses are all working at the one time.
At one time. So all that is connected. So very important. Now you're saying injuries. That is one that you also have to train in the gym. Yeah, and the IT band.
Does it work if I do a lot of Sudokus?
Sudoku, no.
No, okay.
Maybe if you do a Sudoku, like in the what's the name of in the medicine ball?
Oh yeah.
Just stand in there and just kind of like wobble.
Okay, everybody's favourites next. Plantar fasciitis.
Oh,
Now, that's the
Jesus.
one that you had a problem with, remember? So this condition involves inflammation of the plantar fascia. A band
No, I
of
had IT band a little bit.
a band of tissue along the bottom of the foot. It's often caused by sudden increases in mileage or running on hard surfaces. A study in the Journal of Foot and Ankle Research found that a poor arch support and tight calf muscles exacerbate, I've never heard that word before, the risk of plantar fasciitis, particularly in runners transitioning to ultra distances.
Yep.
So it happens a lot from people moving from smaller distances
Yeah,
or
because
short
it's
running
like-
into these ultras, you know. It's
Exactly.
But you, I mean, how did you overcome that? I think what
I
you
didn't
done,
have plantar
Did you not? I
fasciitis.
thought you did. What was it you got the insole for?
It was for the IT band because
Oh,
my
was
knee
it?
was hurting. And newsflash, if you have problem or any pain that is
We're having problems saying some of these words today.
I know it in Spanish, though I don't know it in English very well. And it's better to go to an orthopedic first because that would have saved me so much money. I had a problem in my knee after actually I fell. My knee was never back like 100%. And then I kept running and I still feeling that pain. And I thought, maybe it's something, I went to massages, to acupuncture,
Yeah, I remember you've done
all
loads
that
of stuff.
madness. And then I don't know then suddenly why I had the idea of going with an orthopedic. And he saw me, he asked me to stand up, how they can check if your back is like diagonal or is like,
Yeah.
like if there's like, if you're a little bit crooked, like if you're
Crooked.
your skeleton, like
Yeah.
your inside is
It's
like
a bit twisted.
twisted, yeah. And she was able to see that my knee was going inwards instead of like being outwards. And that was a little bit of a mix of that my inner thigh was weak, obviously. So my adductors were a little bit weak, so that wasn't allowing for my knee to. It was pulling because it was weak, so it was making my knee turn. And also the arch of my foot, I have a flat foot, so obviously I'm a pronator, so I go in very, very, very much actually. So that with the weakness of my adductor, it was just making my whole knee turn inwards, and that was what's causing the pain. So she gave me insole, which raised my arch of my foot.
Did you get it molded to your foot?
No,
or
it was
you
just
bought
one that
and
they had it, and it worked, and that was the end of my pain. I used it for a couple of months, and later on it was all good. I was able to leave it and worked in my adductors and my muscles around the knee, and that was it. So it was.
That is some really good advice.
Yeah, so go with an orthopedic first, because sometimes it's just more. It has to do with that rather than instead of going and buying your new shoes.
As Andy Googles orthopedics near me.
Yes, don't try to again buying new shoes. I think is issue is just putting a plaster like to something that is. You need to find the root of the
core
problem.
yeah.
Yes, you have to find it, because otherwise you're gonna have.
It's
the
funny,
same
I don't
problem
know
with
why
your
I
shoe.
thought that was you had that because of the plantar fasciitis. No, but it was that, was it?
It was the IT. Yeah, it was my knee. But
Well,
it was because I fell, and I think probably I knocked my knee, and it just didn't go to the same. I don't know. But yeah.
Well, actually, fact number 4 is about patellofemoral pain syndrome, which is otherwise known as runner's knee.
Patella, yeah.
Which is different. So runner's knee is characterised by the pain around the kneecap, often resulting from repetitive
That's what I
stress or poor running form. New ultramarathon runners may develop this condition due to weak quadriceps or improper gait mechanics. According to medicine and science in sport and exercise, strengthening exercises targeting the quadriceps and hips can help prevent and manage this injury.
Same. All goes back to the strengthening. Isn't
Yeah, they mention it a lot.
it? So again, if you are a new runner or you're starting to escalate your training because you have bigger goals this year, just be sure to build a really strong base before anything happens. After that, if you have very good strength, if you just build it up really slowly. Again, all the advice, I don't know, it's going to sound weird, but the advice I have is better to get to the race under-trained a little bit than overtrained or injured. Because if you're overtrained, you're going to explode and you're not going to finish. And if you're injured, well, you're not even going to finish because you're going to stop training.
Yeah.
So if your doubts of like, oh, this is too much or not, always pick the lowest end, because it's better always to get there a little bit undertrained. You will survive it. You will walk it. You will crawl it. Just get that mental toughness. You will get there. But if you're overtrained, you're going to explode.
Yeah.
You're just not going to make it till the end. So, and if the goal is finishing, that will give you better bits.
Okay, number 5, and this one I believe is the most painful out of them all, is Achilles tendinopathy.
Mm-hmm.
So Achilles tendinopathy involves pain and stiffness in the Achilles tendon, often due to overuse or poor recovery. New runners are at a higher risk when transitioning to higher mileage without proper conditioning. Research in the British Journal of Sports Medicine highlights that the eccentric calf exercises can reduce symptoms and prevent the injury from worsening.
So same, high volume. Just increasing it really fast is just one of the.
Well, that's the thing. So to kind of finish off Andy's facts, this was probably out of all of them the one that I took the most from when I was researching it, just because it's more apparent to me just now. And it's definitely a very fine balance between new long distance runners and runners. It's not as simple as I can do 10k. We always joke about that runner's math, right? But it's not as simple as I can do 10k now I can start doing 20 or 30. Yeah. It's not like that. Obviously the exercise part and the strengthening is super important, if not the most important, but definitely gradual training progression, proper biomechanics and recovery.
Volume.
Yeah, is really important. And I think for me, one of the things that you talked about, the sort of thinking about in your brain, I think it's really easy to get caught up in the madness, the worry and the excitement of being involved in these races, and you want to do more and do more, but actually it's not about that. Yeah, less is better.
I was telling you this afternoon that I think new runners is like, it's like the new rich, right? The new rich people.
I thought you weren't going to say this.
I know, sorry. I will just say, because I see it a lot right now on the social media, obviously, New Year, and I see everyone running, everyone signing up for these crazy things and like very excited. And again, it's like people with new money, when they never had it, they never had this clarity, they've never had this fitness, and they just want to do everything, and they want to buy everything, and they, when you're new money, you want to buy everything, and you want to show off, and you want to, but when you're old money, you take it a little bit easier. It's something that you grew up with, so you really don't see it as an abnormality. It's just your everyday life. And I think that's what happens when you've been longer in the sport. You're like, oh, this is what I do. There's no novelty for me anymore. Like, I've seen these 100 races, but I pick my 1 or 2, focus there, and this is what we're doing. And just kind of, I know that works. I like the balance of that. I don't like feeling rushed. Like I feel I'm a little bit less pressure of the social media, because for me it's not a novelty anymore.
Yeah.
So just think that you have to do it for yourself, not for any social media or any Strava or to show anyone nothing.
We spoke about that last week, didn't we?
Yeah, you've got nothing to show off to anyone, just to yourself. So be true to yourself.
Yeah, I think that do you know what? I'm lucky that I've got you for this journey, because there's obviously a lot of things that we're going to pick off that I don't really need to learn about, because I've already got it from you, or you're correcting me on the way.
But imagine if you were alone.
But also, I think that, see, what I've discovered as well is, and I know you're going to probably hate me saying this, but actually YouTube is your friend to a certain extent, because it's definitely with things like that where they talk about you trying to not have these injuries or avoid these injuries. And the Andy's facts there, what we've done is we've talked about 5 of them that are the main ones. Now, I will go and look at YouTube videos to see, right, what does that mean a wee bit more and understand it a bit more. There'll be exercises that I may
just
take
be very careful with it, obviously.
But also
there'll be
exercises that I take from you as well.
Yeah.
But the point is using all those resources to be able to try and solve the problem before it happens.
Yeah, just check again, the resources are from obviously
reputable people.
Yeah, exactly. Or books, or just not not influencers, because also like influencers are like, are you seeing that like, oh, run every day, or the challenge running every day? I'm like, why are you sending these challenge of let's run every day to people that have never run before? These people are going, or what was it, the push-up, 100 push-ups every day or something like that. It was a trend years
people
ago.
damaging their shoulders.
And I was
all
like,
sorts,
that is overworking, like it's just wrong. And I understand maybe the social influencers want to do right and they want to just motivate people to do something, but you have to also be responsible. If you're having that power, you have to be responsible with it as well.
That's definitely, it's funny you say that. That's definitely one of the things that I'm coming to realise in this running journey I'm on, is that while all these things in some senses are good and they're getting people moving and getting them active, there's maybe, I don't want to say that there's people giving misinformation out there, because I'm no expert in it, right? But what it does do is it makes me question all these things now, because I'm starting to realise things now, and even from the podcast and our guests and everything else, I'm starting to realise these things, and there's things that I'm looking at now that I'm seeing, like, that
is
can't be
not
right.
Yeah, exactly. So always look for professionals, or dig into any trend that you see that looks super cool. Just see what, if it's coming from someone,
So everybody, in the next few months, if I get this injury, I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm not going to tell you about it. Because I've done all this research and I've had a look at it.
You're not
and if I get injured, I'm just not going to tell you about it, because I don't want you all to shout at me.
You're not going to get injured. I'm here, and we're doing the things right. We're increasing your volume. It's a small volume. We're staying in this 10K, 17K for a while. And there's no point of increasing the volume, and we're focusing in a little bit more strength, which I think that should increase a little bit more into running, strengthening, like running more like focused in using the muscles that are used in running. Sorry. So yeah.
But it's the things that are important to me that are happening. My bum is getting smaller.
And how's my bum getting bigger? Okay. All right, guys. I know. Let's go to the boring chat. We've tried for 1.5 episodes to get into. Oh, I feel like it's been years. It's been already a month. That's insane. I had to actually go back in my notes to take my notes for the episode, because I already forgot. Before we usually record them right away, so I have all my memories fresh, and like I can share them with you and I can feel them a little bit more vivid. But this one was a little bit late, so let's go into it. So I think in the last episode I've told you guys how I got to Antarctica. So it was 2 days riding
planes, trains and automobiles
through the Drake Pass. Brutal. We decided that it was better to just lay down. That way we didn't suffer as much as many people suffer during those 2 long days of, there was a couple of people having a really bad time. And I mean, you don't want to start the race like already drained with like 0, nutrients in your, or dehydrated for all the throwing up you've done. So the first day, so we had to prepare all our stuff. Again, we carry one bag that is the food bag, and another bag that is the materials. That one we do not have access during the race, but it's just like an emergency bag just in case we get stranded. And that's it. And in my backpack, it was not as heavy as the previous races. It looks bulky because it had like a jacket just in case if, during the run I felt a little cold, and that's more like things like layers and things like that you want to carry through the race. And the first day was the longest stage. So we have 12 hours. So when they said that, it's like the first day you're going to be out there. You still have no idea kind of like what shoe to wear, how many layers you feel comfortable with. You don't know like what kind of food is going to be good. Like you don't know how cold it's going to be. The weight, like you have no idea, but still they're going to throw you in there for the longest day out there.
Was there a bit of anticipation and adrenaline going through you, or was it nervousness because you didn't know what to expect?
I'm gonna sound so cocky, but I know whatever it throws at me, I'll be okay.
So you weren't phased by anything at all. You just wanted to get out there and
I was
run.
very calm. I had all my stuff with me. Like I had my backpack, so I put
You
layers.
knew you were prepared.
So yeah, I was prepared, and I know mental side of it. I know I can hold a lot now. I know I can solve a lot now. I know I can.
But I guess also that being that prepared and being that confident in your preparation
Can cause problems, yes.
Yeah,
I'm never cocky when I'm in that moment. But I'm cocky now that I can say like, oh, it can bring me anything. But when I'm there, no, I'm like focusing like, okay, let's put these layers and I'm going to take this and I'm going to take that. I'm just concentrating what I'm doing and, and that's it. I know. And then that's, let's say, equipment wise and mentally wise, I'm like, and as long as I have these 3 pairs of gloves, because that I know if I don't want to get my hands cold, I'll be okay. I can survive anything. And also, don't forget that I grew as a runner mostly in Scotland. So I was pretty confident, okay, with my cold abilities because I've been running again in Scotland for
pretty cold weather,
5-6 years. Let me tell you, I've cried in those trails in Scotland so many times. So like I was struggling so many times in the trails out there that it's unreal. Like it now sounds funny, but it was tough. That built me mentally tough.
Those mountains know the weight of your tears.
Oh man, you have no idea.
Is there anything that you weren't looking forward to getting on, or did it not even cross your mind?
Yes, so we had this first day. Again, it's a loop course because obviously you cannot do a point to point because they kind of just threw you out there. It's such extreme conditions. So it's a loop. This loop was 5 kilometers, I believe, the loop. So I wasn't looking forward a loop course that I knew there was going to be like a mental, like challenging in the sense of it's going to be very boring to repeat the same loop for 12 hours, which I've done it before, so I know it gets tiring mentally. So yeah, with that, I was just like I had my good podcast downloaded, everything ready just to, have a nice day out.
A nice day out. I love it.
Literally a day out. And that's it. We went down. They put you, or they ask you to be at the gangway. Yep. There, and they take you to these zodiacs. I'll put it if you're watching on YouTube. These like boats, that have like the 2 little, I don't know how to call it. It's a zodiac.
Yeah,
that's the name
There's sort
of
of
it.
rails at the side that hold the boat a bit steadier, aren't they?
That's it. I mean, zodiacs. There's no other word for that. And you get into the zodiacs. That was like the probably most scariest part for the first day, to be going in, and then you put all these layers in. And you're inside the boat, kind of waiting in the queue to get into the zodiacs. So you're still inside the boat, and it was so warm in the boat. So here's everyone with 10,000 layers, carrying 2 very heavy bag, the 2 bags that we're carrying, plus our backpack, just sweating so much while we were just in the queue waiting to get out in the gangway. I remember that was the most uncomfortable moment of the whole thing. Actually, I was just sweating, everything was sticky, and it's like you don't want to start sweating because if you get sweaty, if you're wet, that's what attracts the cold, and that's why they can get
horrible,
frozen. So we're like, hurry up, just trying to hurry up everyone, like try to go out as fast as we can, because if you start sweating and you get out there and it's really cold and you're wet, man, that is game over.
It's funny you say that, and I don't know if the listeners out there, if they were following what we were putting out on Instagram while you were doing it. I was so, see when I seen you running, you had to take your jacket off and stuff like that, because we were led to believe in everything that we'd read and everything everybody told us was, oh, you're going to get there, the toughest thing's the cold, it's going to be so freezing, it'll be like 20 or 20 minus 20, and I guess
minus 40,
you've got to be prepared for that. But see when I seen you running without like jackets and taking your top off,
So the
like,
first
what?
day it was beautiful. We got there. I think also the problematic part was you need to use like big rubber boots during the Zodiac and like when you land inland because you are in a wet landing. So the Zodiacs, you have to put your legs into water to kind of, there's not like a port, or somewhere. There's no not jetty. Like a dock or something. There's nothing. So you kind of like have to step in the water. So carrying those and then usually up the hill just to go into the island or ground. So that was the hardest part, just to carry everything with those big boots. You're sweating, and changing was also like having to take the boots off, put your shoes on.
Yeah, awkward.
And I'm still sweating like maniac. I had to take the layers off because that was so hot. So hot. And that's when I was like, I think Scotland is way colder than Antarctica. It's a fact.
I would agree with you probably.
Now it's a fact. So the first day, again, we started going 3, 2, 1, madness starts. 5 kilometers loops. I can't remember how many loops I did, but it clicked 50 kilometers, so 10 probably, right?
Did it become, obviously when you started doing the trail, it wasn't beaten down so much?
Yes, the first 2, probably first 1, 2, even the third, fourth one, it was like snow to your knee, and it was very, very like uneven ground. Oh, really? As the loops started going, let's say,
so you would just sink into it.
Hour 6, it was like just like a slushy path at that point, right? Because we all going on the same kind of path, so it was just a slushy. And the first day was actually not that. There was not so much of climbing, so it was quite flat. So I didn't have any like slipping situations. It was not very slippery or anything. It was just quite flat. Yeah, 1 or 2 like little uphills, nothing wild. And we clicked that day 50 kilometers.
Wow.
Yeah, that was fun. 50 kilometers, and that's it. Like they usually would tell you when is your last loop, and they will pull you out, right? You have to change again, and again, you're all knackered, you're sweating, you have to put the big boots on, the big jacket, and everything to head back to the boat. And also another thing, it's the food. So I didn't stop. So my idea was not to stop, because if I stop, I don't know, it just kills my rhythm. And it's just, I don't. So the plan was, what, I'm going to do 4 hours, whatever that many loops is, 4 hours running, no stopping. And then I'll stop for food, because again, you can't eat in the course. You have to stop in the tarp with your, just in case you spill food or anything, you need to eat in the tarp. So I didn't want to stop. So I stopped 4 hours. I can't remember, probably something stupid, like a good waffle. And
I love those waffles.
I know. Yeah, you love those waffles. Yeah, you ate all of those waffles that were left over from that. I ate waffles, exactly. I think I ate pepperoni, which...
Hate them.
I love those. And that's it. And because we couldn't eat during the run, I put tons of carb and electrolyte powder into my drinks. So I wasn't eating like a gel, but I was still hydrating and eating like carbs every sip I was taking. I was still eating something. So to be honest, that was the hardest part of all the race, to figure out the eating situation, because if we know something ultras is like an eating competition, you just need to eat, start like keep putting fuel into your body. You need to keep fueling, and then here, you weren't allowed to. So that was a little like puzzle to solve.
I obviously have heard about electrolytes and drinking electrolytes, and obviously I've been doing that for a long time now, right? But this drinking carbs is a new thing to me. Going to explain that a wee bit more? Is it simple?
Yeah, so it's the same as like maybe eating gel, but they make it into powder. So
it's-
when you're slurping your electrolytes or you're drinking water, you're also drinking a little bit of calories.
And is there a lot in it? Is there a lot of
I
carbs?
think it's like 90 grams of carbs per 500 mils if
Right,
you
okay.
put a whole scoop.
I mean, that's not bad.
I'll tell you what, I put like 10 scoops in one thing. Because I couldn't bring the powder
Yeah.
into the island. So, oh, by the way, we're in Half Moon Island. So that was the name where we landed. That was the first round, Half Moon Island. So it's an island.
And would you say that obviously electrolytes is a necessity for any
Yeah.
long distance running? Carbs,
I would prefer to eat them,
Would you?
to be honest. And even if it was a race with checkpoints and like normal food, I would love to have like normal food rather than a gel. In these races, we've been doing gels and we've been doing waffles and we're doing things because you need to carry them. So you cannot really carry a burger or a pizza or whatever. But in a normal race that is checkpoint to checkpoint or something, I would prefer much more to have normal food, to be honest. It's something that you will have to discover and you will have to twist and
try out and see.
try out, and also depending on the race, because again, in my race I couldn't even have normal food and I couldn't even eat during the race, so I had to adapt. So my thinking was, you know what, if I don't want to stop that often and I cannot eat that much, I'm just gonna put a little bit of fuel at least every sip. So that's why I put tons of it every sip. To be honest, the first sips were like a shock in the system because it was like so concentrated. I was like, oh my God. But every loop I was like refilling it. So it got diluted more and more and more. But the first couple of sips was like, woof. Yes, that is definitely strong.
Well, do you know what the funny thing is? The reason why I'd asked that question is because I'd never heard about it up until recently, right?
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know what, this is maybe, and this is me maybe showing my ignorance, right? But electrolytes made sense to me because they were in water and you drink them, right? So you put the electrolytes in. But I never ever put the two things together about carbs, because carbs is eating.
Yeah,
For
but
me, so
carbs are life when you're running. Obviously, these long distances. That's like kind
Yeah.
of like the gummies that you take when you're running now in the trails. When I give you or your waffle that you like, the whole objective is carbs because that is fueling your muscles.
But my point is I never associated the
that
drinking
being the
of
drink.
the carbs.
I know.
Rather than.
And to be honest, if you're also out there now, is a big trend, or it's not a trend. I think the studies were put more information out there that is actually really good, or try to do 120 carbs per hour, which
right, okay, that's
a
interesting.
gel or a gummy, it will hit usually at 90. So you always are a little bit, or unless you eat two gels, which is madness, because I would not be able to slurp two gels. I mean, if you can, go ahead. But what you can do is do a gel and a little bit of a sips of those, and then you kind of like add up, and then
so if you've got two bottles with you, then you do an electrolytes
one
and then one
usually
with a
and
little
one
bit of
normal.
it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and this time again, I had to solve on the go. So, well, not on the go because they told us since before that we weren't able to do that. What I'm going to say is I didn't have a plan until we got there, to be honest. I was like, I'll see what everyone else is solving because I have no idea. I did pack my big bag of those electrolytes as precision. And yeah, that's how I pretty much do the whole race. To be honest, I finished a whole bag. I think it's like a kilo of powder. Yeah, I that's pretty much my whole nutrition for the race. And yeah, I stopped every 4 hours. I had that. And then I think we were about to finish, I would say around hour 8, maybe 9. In one of those loops, they had hot chocolate.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine that?
Hot chocolate is my favourite in the snow.
No, imagine when you're like a little like hungry. Clearly you haven't eaten apart from slurping a little bit of carbs and calories and like a waffle. So imagine like I am also always in a deficit in these races, right? You're burning crazy calories, you're not eating enough, but then suddenly appears this chocolate. I was like, man, this is like pure luxury. This event was pure luxury from the sense of like, since everything. So I was like, you will not have this in the desert. not chocolate, but just a drink, you
Yeah.
know, of any other flavor. So it was a really nice treat. Well, they do give you a soda in the long march, in the
That's
long
true,
day.
yeah.
They kind of
A
like,
medicinal Coke.
yes, they give you a little bit of like, you know, when you're doing the long march. So maybe that's what they did in this one. Instead of
Yeah.
like giving you a soda, they gave us hot chocolate. And it was quite nice. That lifted me up so much because I was in the struggle bus like in hour 10. I was like, I don't think this is going to work. Like I am dying slowly. But I knew it was the calories. But again, I didn't want to stop. I didn't want to take my gloves. I didn't want, and you know, it's just when it's cold, it's harder to eat. And even I discovered that even in races in Scotland, in the UK, you have 10,000 layers. You don't want to like be digging in your bag. It's just uncomfortable. So you just kind of eat less.
But also, I think that coming from Scotland, that when it's warm out there, you don't mind reaching out and getting what I mean.
Yeah,
but see when it's really, really cold,
you're
don't. Like, I don't want to feel that cold.
You don't want to take your glove. You don't want to take your anything. So yeah definitely. So that was really nice. And with that was the excellent push that I needed, or the perfect push that I needed to finish. And yeah, I was able to clock 50 kilometers for that day. And those kilometers, then they put it like in a pot, and then, well, not a pot, in an Excel file, in an Excel file probably. So they kind of punch you. You have a punch card, and every loop they punch you the card, and then they take the cards at the end of the day, and then they count how many loops you did times the distance of the run. So this one's 5, she did 10, 50 kilometers, goes in the Excel file, and at the end of the whole 5 days, then they will add up, and that's the person that wins is the person that does the most distance. So it's not 250 this time, it's just again per distance. So this day we were able to clock 50, which is great. It goes in the bank, and that's it. Since day one, we noticed that there was because I was saying there's a punch card, and we started noticing that it was very easy to get punched twice, or you know what I mean?
Oh, really?
Yeah, so there was
like
a lot.
Laps you didn't do.
Yeah, there was a lot of issues. Like maybe it was not like they're good. I mean, but again, this is not a race that I would recommend if you want to go and race it. It's more of a experience race. Yeah. So to be honest, I did feel a little bit annoyed at the beginning, but you know what? I just remember that who cares, right? Like, because suddenly appears someone that had like more loops than me, and I'm like, you didn't pass me, like.
You did it for the badge. You did it for the Antarctica badge.
Yes, exactly. So I was like, it was annoying. Like some people, the first lady, or the people that are really competing could get really angry because of that. But I mean, I understand because they are competing. Like at the end, like you know, they are going for you know, for a prize. There's no money prize, but for. You know, they are actually competing. So I did feel bad about them because there was also a couple of issues around that because, the organization in that sense wasn't that great.
I would imagine though at the checkpoints, it may be quite tough at times because you might have a load of people coming in at the one time.
Yes, that's what happened.
And then it's a case of, right, who did I get, who did I not get? Yeah.
And then it was like mental, how exactly, there's a lot of people passing through and they're trying to punch you. And I got, for example, let's say in a loop, I gave my punch card. They punched me the card, and I was distracted. Like I left the punch card like this because they were punching it, and then I was distracted that the lady was putting my water bottles in my race vest. And when I turned around, someone was gonna punch it again, and I said, "Oh no, they punched it already." And if I didn't say anything, they would have punched it again.
Yeah,
you know. So there was a lot of like madness in that like checkpoint, kind of like in the loop kind of thing.
Entrance exit.
Yeah, that it was. Yeah, I would imagine it was hard, but yeah, I would just say that was the only thing that was a little like a. Yeah, but anyway, we finish. Go back into Zodiac, back into the boat, hot shower. I mean, seriously, and then off for dinner, a really nice cooked dinner.
Those, I know I said it in the last one, those dinners looked amazing.
Like, what is this?
I remember looking at the video going, think to myself, you've got it better there than I have it here.
It was a luxury retreat, people. If you ever want to do an experience run you're not going to suffer, I promise. You're not going to suffer. And to be honest, if you're having a rough time in the loops, just sit there like pretending you're eating, which I seen a lot of people do. They were just sitting because there was like little like stools. They would just sit down and then they were just like killing the time. I mean, the clock never stops. So if you do 2 loops, sit down for 3 hours and go on and do another 2 loops.
Yeah.
There you go. You'll still get the medal, mate. So to be honest, it was great because you have no pressure. You don't have to arrive to the point at certain time. Like,
Do you know what's funny?
Total freedom.
I can see both sides of it, right? That you would get there and you would want to run because that's what you've paid for, right? But then also I can see the other side of it, that you get there and you're going to get a medal anyway. So as long as you're out there, you've done a few loops, you can say you've ran Antarctica, then sure, why not?
Exactly. I mean? So yeah, you can do it as hardcore or as a leisurely as you want it. So yeah, went back, dinner, beautiful dinner, and back to bed. And that was our pretty like the days forward. And we have 4 minutes. Okay, let's dig into day 2. Because to be honest, like I just see this day, that's what's gonna happen the next 5 days. There's nothing like too wild about this race in particular. All the days were the same. The day 2, we did arrive. The only thing to mention was that the day 2 was Portal Point, and that is the first time we touch Antarctica, like the
mainland.
The mainland.
Is that where Shackleton went?
I'm not sure if it was
sounds
Portal
familiar.
Point. Deception Island it was, which that's where we finished. And yeah, Portal Point was the first time we are actually stepping foot in the continent, and it felt different because everyone was telling us about it.
Yeah.
And also the crew from the board, they were so friendly. They were also very young. Well, sort of my age around it. So it was really fun.
You're not young. I'm like
well, the average age of the boat, let's say, I was very young. For everyone, for the average age of all the boat and participants and crew and everyone, we're like a baby.
I would say that and I think we said it before about how surreal it was seeing like icebergs float by.
The icebergs, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
I would have said that the whole experience of looking around you, standing on Antarctica, seeing the seals and the penguins and like roaming free.
It's like I am in a zoo.
Yeah, but it almost seems, it would seem alien in the sense that you probably never experienced anything like that before.
I think, that's what good point. I think what it's like struck me the most was watching my first iceberg. Yeah, I've told you that. I think that one thing that I've never seen before in my life was an iceberg. And that was like, what is that? I've never thought it would be that blue.
Yeah.
It's very blue. Like, very blue. It was, that's surreal. And the second day was, again, touching point. It was supposed to be 2 sessions that day. So we went out there thinking, okay, so we're going to have to go run the first in the morning was 3 hours. And then we're supposed to go back, lunch, and then go back out for another couple of hours. So great. That was the idea, that we went out 3 hours out that day. And it was the coldest day. It was cold. It was like really cold. That was the only day I suffered a little bit.
How cold was it?
I think it was -10.
I think that's Glasgow just now.
Yeah, for the records that we seen, I think that all the other days were like 1 or 0, and this one was -10. So it was freezing. And the only thing that I suffered with, like, it was only 3 hours, thank God, because my gloves, I failed so many times. Because
did you?
The first loops are like all wonky. And I put my hand into, obviously you fall, and then your gloves get wet. And then I go and dig into my bag, and my spare gloves were not there.
Oh, Panic. Did you leave them in the other bag?
I leave them in the other bag. Stupid. Oh, no. I was like, great. Now what? So I just had to survive with my really cold gloves but it was, thank God, it was a short day. I don't think I would have survived 10 days. I would have asked probably, which you can do, one of your, teammates, one of the friends, like you have spare gloves. Everyone was carrying 4 gloves anyway, so I would have to be able to solve what I had. But it was the only time I was like, oh. But I said, you know what? I have an hour and a half. It's fine. I'll survive it. So I'll just run with my hands really cold that day.
Just were you saying that about the gloves? Was there any gear that you didn't use? So, like, for example, did you use the crampons that you
Yes.
bought? So you used them?
Yes,
Was there
but I
things-
didn't. But you really didn't need them though, because it was very slushy. So
Yeah.
crampons again are used when it's ice, right? When it's slushy, there's some people that like it and some people that don't. I don't like it because if I am going to sleep, I'd rather sleep. Like I am quite confident in my, again, strength and that I can
And pulling that balance back.
rather than getting like hooked in the ground and
Yep.
then that will break, that
Yep.
would put like a break
Yep.
and then it wouldn't allow me to move. Like, that would cause more problems, like say in your knee, that you get glued to the ground and then your knee doesn't
you can't move anywhere,
you
so
can't
it
move
just
it.
moves on its own. Yeah.
So yeah, that would make more. And then I knew there was a couple other runners saying the same thing, and yeah, that's why I didn't really use it. So yeah.
Okay. What other kit did you not use?
Oh, I was gonna sneeze. Sorry.
Did you use your hand warmers and feet warmers?
Oh
or not?
no, it was
You
too
were
hot,
so
man.
excited about them as well.
So hot. Nothing. I used nothing. I was actually trying to take off my clothes. That day, no. That day I was cold. But the other days, we're going to talk about probably next episode. I was stripping off. I was so hot. But this is the only day. And then we finished 3 hours. I did 15K. Pretty okay. And they start a lot of climbing. That's when the days
was
started
it?
to climb up. The person that does these races, marks the races or do the routes, he is a sadist.
A sadist.
Sadist.
Sadist. The saddest, I would envision him just sitting in the corner
Very
being sad all the time.
But maybe he's very sad. That's why he does what he does. He just hates us.
And
He
ironically, he's not a runner.
and he's not a That's why probably he doesn't know.
Yeah.
He is absolutely brutal in making the routes. He did the route in Jordan as well. So every time there is a uphill, he will go and put you all the way up the uphill. Not around, not through the side, no, over the hill. Or if there's a river, he's not going to make it to you to cross it around. No, you'll cross it through like in Gobi. He did Gobi as well. So that person, it's, yeah. But we love him. But yeah. Really tough. And
Just make it easy for Greece, please.
he's doing Greece as well. It's gonna be brutal.
No.
So every time there was a hill, we were climbing it, and there was a lot of climbing. The day 2, 3, 4, and 5. The next days we climbed a lot. I'm gonna add how much climbing I did in those 4 days, but it was brutal. Yes. And then again, we went back to the boat. Lunch, really nice. And then they started calling in the intercom saying that there was whales around. So I didn't get a chance to see them. I was too dead. I was tired. I was like, I don't care about the whales. That's fine. You guys can send me the video later. But there was whales around. And I mentioned this because the boat had to, I think, go around them or maneuver something around them because the whales were around. I don't know if he had to go around or he had to stop or I don't know. But he mentioned that there's whales that he had to deviate a little bit. That's why it was said. But thank God for the whales. We were my roommate, Maiwa, and me, we were both laying down, half dead. We were so knackered. She's also doing the 5 deserts. So we were talking about that. We were very tired, not only because of this race, just everything. We're just very tired. So we were just there laying down, saying, just rest as much as you can because we have a couple of hours and we need to get out again for another 5 hours or so. So they were talking about the intercom that there was this deviation, And then I don't know why I had that feeling of I hope we don't go out again or something because of that. Anyway, we were laying down, and funny enough, the intercom goes on. They have a little tin tin, and you're like, what now? And it's guys, just to let you know that the run for this evening has been cancelled because I don't even know why. We just started jumping up Everyone was laughing in the boat later on because everyone said that they could hear our screaming in the whole floor. We were like happy we were not going. To be honest, there were some people that were like, oh, I was sad. I did wanted to go and explore. And I was like, shut up. No, we're very happy. This is perfect. It's great. So it was
Where's
great,
that lovely food?
yeah, so it was a great, like, you know, then we were able to have dinner again and just enjoy that day. It was a really short day because we ran 3 hours, and that day I did 15 kilometers, adding to the pot to the Excel file, and I was happy with that, to be honest. There was a couple of people that were like a little bit sad, but
You're going to make it up.
I didn't care. We'll make it up for the next ones. But that was it for that day. Day 2 done. And yeah, I can wait to tell you about day 3, 4, and 5, which there's not a lot of novelty. Day 3 is interesting as well. I want to say that we reached the office, the postal office of the UK. Is the most remote portal office in the world. I know. And it's like an actual, like, we post office.
And did you say it's a UK post office?
Yeah, England. Yeah, had an English flag. Because if you guys find it interesting, they gave us also in the boat during these 5 days a couple of chats, different chats about the animals, welfare, like how they keep the environment. They gave us a lot of another chat about the permits for Antarctica, all that. But also there was another one, very interesting, that is Antarctica politics. I thought it was dead interesting because Antarctica is from everyone, but it's from no one. But everyone's trying to claim it. And it was wild. It was a very funny chat.
And the aliens are there.
I don't remember very well, obviously, all the details of it. But it was a very, very interesting chat. And that's why the UK put a postal office there, because they're trying to say like, oh, this part is mine, even though it's not really theirs. But if you put things in there, claimed it, but for when they do their separation in the future or whatever, it's like, oh, I have a postal office there already. It's mine, like I've been here this postal office has been here for 50 years.
Did you know Shackleton was there?
So, exactly. And my friend was here before. So it's those kind of politics. And that's why that postal office is there. And there's people that actually make a lot of inquiries to go, and I don't know if it's a volunteer of pay job, but to work in that office.
Brilliant.
Because it's so remote. They don't have water. They don't have anything. They just have to work, like live there with barely nothing. But they're there receiving postal cards.
And once every 3 months, somebody turns up to post something.
Exactly. Us. Which we'll talk about that in the next episode. It's a really fun one. I think that was a highlight also of the trip. So yeah, thank you so much for listening this week. And let us know if you have any questions. As usual, we're going to head out this weekend for another long run.
See how we got on.
Yes, we're making it. And remember, have fun this weekend. And remember to keep doing whatever makes you ultra happy.